Good morning. You're listening to 92.7 Arrow FM, and this is the Nikki King. This is me, Nikki King, on the Nothing Personal show. And in the studio this morning, I've got some wonderful guests. I've got Teresa Dixon from Intrinsic Performance, and I've got Fiona Couchman from Dale Carnegie. Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning.
And good morning, Fiona.
Good morning.
And now, it's great to have you here this morning. I'd like to just get you to just say a little bit about your business. We'll start with you, Fiona.
Okay, so Dale Carnegie, which started in 1912, has obviously been in business for quite some time, and Dale was very famous for public speaking, or known for public speaking.
Yes.
The essence of Carnegie was his famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, but he also wrote a very good book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. So my focus is leadership, management, and many aspects around that.
Right, that sounds a very fascinating area. And what about you, Teresa? Your business is Intrinsic Performance.
I'm a health and performance coach. I take a whole body approach to wellness. So with a screening, I can give you an associated risk to long-term health. So ideally, everybody should pass a screening, and we should, live a long and fruitful life. But in today's society, we have a bottom of the cliff healthcare system, and people don't do anything until we get ill.
I can
we
see
need to
that.
be proactive.
So you're sort of looking at the holistic health of people.
Yes, so body MOT systems, body being the entire body.
Yeah.
MOT stands for methods of transformation.
Yeah.
And so each individual person who comes to me could be coming because they've got aches and pains. So as a sports therapist, I could do massages and give them exercises, but if they're not eating or drinking appropriately, my exercises and things may not work. So just chasing pain, you've actually got to find the driver for the ill health. Movement's just an aspect of health, the same as if we're overweight, how do we lose weight?
Yes.
So it's sort of, that all has an influence on what health is.
Yes, I can appreciate it. So coming back over to you, Fiona. So what drives you to train people? What sort of training do you do within Dale Carnegie?
So I've been a trainer for 20 years now with Dale Carnegie, and back in the 80s, I think there was a big drive for personal development. People were out there looking to develop themselves, whereas now the shift is more strategic and more organisational performance. So companies are looking at ways to improve their performance and certainly lift staff engagement. That's a big area for organisations. People are really quite aware that the higher the engagement levels of staff, the greater the profitability, performance, sales are even influenced by that. And a lot of that comes down to how they're treated,
yes.
So how their leaders treat them. And I always say boss is boss and leaders lead. And so do I work for a boss or do I work for a leader? And that's really that space that we work with organisations, helping to develop their leaders.
Yep.
And not only from a senior level, but 50% of leadership is actually leading yourself.
Yes.
So we get a lot of entrepreneurs or small business owners who it's very lonely in your own organisation, very lonely. And so they'll come on a Carnegie program, which is about an 8-week program, to really establish for themselves their own self-direction, their own vision and values and leadership and communication and how do I sell myself better, how do I attract the right people into my organisation as well as the right customers.
Gosh, well, that sounds fascinating. You must get lots of very interesting clients.
We do. My youngest was a 16-year-old and my oldest was a 72-year-old. And so we'll have anything from the CEO of a large national organisation through to the receptionist. And it really just, people are people and interacting with others. They're all fundamentals. He wrote the book How to Win Friends in 1936.
Wow, that's age. I didn't realise it was so long ago.
It was a long time ago. And when he wrote the book How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, he found 57 books on worms and not a single book on worry. And so he felt there was a need. And they're still relevant today.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. And it's such a well-known book because I've done sales, and it was always around the sales arena where people would say, have you read this How to Win Friends and Influence People? And it's just always, it's one of those go-to handbooks, eh?
Absolutely. And I guess the big challenge is, it's old. I mean, and I said, we started the same year that Henry Ford started the Ford company.
Yeah.
And yet we've evolved. And there's a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age.
Yes.
And Donna Carnegie, Dale's daughter, wrote a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People for Teenage Girls.
Yeah.
Which is, teenagers, it can be so challenging growing up and finding friends, finding confidence, believing in yourself and not having the self-loathing or the self-hate that has gone on. I have two daughters myself, and it really is challenging times in these decades.
Exactly. So what about your clients? What kind of people do you generally see?
Quite a wide variety, really. So from some young athletes through to farmers' wives, through to just general people who work in offices. So most people, it's somebody that's really interested in health and interested in looking after themselves, or they've come to a point where they're not well, and how do I move forward from here?
Yeah, and sometimes you just need I know from my point of view, sometimes you probably just need somebody to mentor you along. There's so much conflicting information out there these days.
Yeah, so all of my assessments are done on a sort of science base, so they're all backed by science. So, so it's that predictability of health.
Yeah.
You look at things like diabetes, late onset diabetes, your strokes, your heart attacks, your high blood pressures, your cholesterols, they're all lifestyle disorders. So if we can get our younger people to actually take responsibility for their own health and understand what health is rather than waiting until they become ill, and then it's too late.
Exactly, yeah. And years and years, I've done lots of things that I never actually carried through. I've been a jack of all trades and master of none. I did nurse training back in, 92, 93, and it got to 18 months, and then it wasn't for me. But they were talking about holistic health and health promotion then, but it doesn't seem to have carried through as much as they were talking about it. We're still treating, like you were saying earlier, symptom. We're at the bottom of the cliff still.
Yeah, and I think GPs have 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
My consultation can be anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, because I really have to find out what people drives people.
Yeah.
So some people is, we might look, and I might actually refer them out because I see that they're a bag of nerves, they've got something emotionally going on.
Yes.
And I may need to move them somewhere else, or they may come in a lot of pain, and I know to sort of send them to the local chiropractor.
Yes.
Will be a quicker way. So for me, it's how do I get my client to health point the quickest.
Yeah.
So, and it's not always me, and I know I'm not always the answer, but coming to me, we can sort of probably find a base of where we start from, and then they normally come back at some point.
So you're almost like a strategist of health, like a consultant and strategist?
Yeah, I'm a little bit like you. I did sports science at university. I then did, I quite liked that, but then wanted to be a physio. So in the UK, it was quite strange at that time because the NHS paid for the course.
Yep.
They didn't like sporty people. And my friend said, why don't you become an aerobics instructor? So I actually found this course that was fitness training and sports therapy, and you did your aerobics at the end of it.
Yep.
And I actually never did the aerobics. But I'm grateful to my friend who sort of set me on my way. And then from then on, I've just I've done my aromatherapy qualifications. I've done an intrinsic biomechanics coach, so looking at how movement. And for me, the last course, my body MOT, has really brought my 20 years of learning back together.
Yeah.
So it's about the integration of each system. We go to the doctors, and the doctors will go, oh, you've got high blood pressure. Okay. But they don't actually look, here's a pill, this will bring it down. They don't sit there and go, well, do you actually walk 30 minutes a day?
Yes.
Because that's the recommended heart. What we should be doing as a minimum is walking 30 minutes briskly, or doing your 10,000 steps a day. With the nice doody watches and phones that you have, you can actually see, what we do. And that's sort of a basic, health requirement. And because, we've got cars, we don't walk to school anymore. We don't, we sit in an office, we're not doing as physical of jobs. It's just getting that balance. And to the same degree that somebody does lots of physical work, do they balance their loads with recovery?
Exactly, yeah. Because I suppose I've been looking at because I work a lot from home myself, and you can get really into your, and this is probably similar sort of thing to like leading myself in my business. You get really into your little cocoon. And yesterday I went to the beach because I needed a mental health day. Mm-hmm. I knew that I needed to release my head somewhere else, and and those kind of things I think we've forgotten how to do.
Yep.
Yeah. So Fiona, your background. So how did you arrive at being a trainer?
Well, I was involved. I was working in at More FM many years ago. I started it, and my background is sales, and I went to Capital Television, which was our regional television back in it was 23 years ago, and I did a Dale Carnegie course for them. It was a sales program, then it was a fantastic sales course. They used to call me Fiona, give me a competition, and I'd win at Dage. That was that was another husband, but it was also my I guess my tagline. I loved sales, and I was very competitive in sales, and I really bumped back into. I met William, who owned the franchise for New Zealand, and he asked me to come and work with him. But he said, "Look, you're going to have to learn to be a trainer." And so for then, I've always been fascinated in helping and looking after people as a child. At school, I would put on little shows for kids and reward them. I'd have little classes as well, and so it was quite a natural bend for me. And I did my training in Washington, DC, and in Palm Springs. We had to have 300 hours of training before we were allowed to be let loose. I had to tandem with another instructor, which was quite handy because I went on to marry him. So
that's nice.
Bonus. Took on a whole new meaning. And we're rated by the Motorola University, so I was rated in the top 1% of trainers worldwide, which was a wonderful accolade. And I guess it really does stem, I think I mentioned to you earlier before the show, I lived in Watman Home for 18 months as a child, and my mother was very, very sick, so I had to look after her. And going to a school where the majority of kids had parents, they wouldn't let you sort of play. So they live in the home, so you just make sure they have to go back to their orphanage. And I'd come to the orphanage, and there were kids there that were truly orphans, but my father would visit me from time to time, and it was this feeling of not really being anywhere. I didn't know where I belonged. I wasn't an orphan, but I also wasn't a child that went to school whose mum and dad packed their lunch or picked them up after school. And Carnegie is very much about helping people find their purpose, finding what they want out of life, building their confidence.
Yes.
I laugh and joke about sort of some of my marriages, but I was the prodigy of a beaten housewife, and so I know what it's like to be part of that, and to feel you're not worthy and feel that you're not valued. So going through Carnegie and watching people try and build confidence but not really believing in themselves, my life lessons, my life experiences almost added value because I was able to empathise with them. I've been where you are. I know what it's like to get out from nowhere and not believe in yourself and think you're nothing and you're not of value. And so I really developed quite a kinship to my class members, probably to the point that you're talking about, that health and well-being. We can take a lot of energy, and it uses a lot of mental energy to give to others. And so I'm an absolute fan of what you do, because my mantra these days is health is the new wealth.
Yes.
And last year I donated a kidney to a girlfriend, and I had to actually really look at my health and well-being, and I've had to take a huge look at what I eat, how I exercise. I'm fascinated in what you're doing. We have to talk later. Because it's that holistic approach, and
it is.
And what are we doing mentally will impact how we perform, but what we eat, how we exercise, all of that will impact on how I treat you at work.
Yeah, and the thing is, to function correctly at work, even if you work for yourself, even if you're not under a boss, and it's become more apparent to me that when now I work for myself, that I do have to be well, and mentally well, because you can burn yourself out so easily working by yourself.
Well, I used to do a workshop I did a workshop many years ago called Burnout, and I I wasn't getting people turning up to the workshop. And so I rechanged it. The title is vital. I changed the workshop to how to avoid burnout.
Yes.
And I had people in their droves because they were too scared to go to their boss and say, look, I'm burnt out. Can I go to this workshop?
Yeah.
I'm on the cliff. And so we do a lot of workshops. We're working locally with Wairarapa Chamber of Commerce. In fact, my husband's doing a workshop tomorrow on time management. And so we're now working locally, as the Wairarapa is one part of our franchise area, on giving people little 90-minute workshops to say, look, here's a vignette of time management, who motivates the motivator.
Yeah.
You're the motivator, or who motivates you.
Yep.
Building confidence, selling. If you're not outselling, you're being outsold. So just looking at little vignettes to help people identify with our programs. And then we do a lot of time-spaced journeys.
Yep.
So our Dale course, our Skills for Success, is 8 weeks long. It's one afternoon a week for 8 weeks because we're looking for behaviour shifts.
Yes,
we're looking to
and they have to. I suppose with you, Teresa, that's the same thing. You're looking for those behaviour shifts.
Yeah, it sort of takes 6 weeks to get a good pattern.
Yep.
So, but it also, for me, sometimes I get a lot of people that maybe have been to a lot of different therapists and they've gone on and had one client quite recently that sort of said, my acupuncturist wants me to go on a vegan diet. And it's like, yes, that would be beneficial to you, but if it doesn't sit or resonate with them, you can't get that. So I sort of said, well, we can take the aspect of the vegan diet if they want you to eat lots of nutrient-dense vegetables.
Yes.
So all we need to do is add that into your present diet. So I try and initially add things in.
Yes.
And I avoid saying you have to take this away because it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle.
That's right.
And if you eat 80% of the time correctly, there's nothing wrong with if we go out for lunch and with the girls, they might be having cakes. So you just enjoy a cake.
Yes.
And don't feel guilty about it. Actually, just knowing that you're doing the right things and being well helps you stay on track.
Yes.
Because if you feel guilty about that cake, you're then going to go home and think differently. You have that negative self-image.
And then you might eat another cake.
And then, you definitely want another cake.
You want another cake and a glass of wine, and it snowballs from there. Because I'm overweight at the moment, but I've been on diets and I've got quite skinny. And it's yo-yoing is. I see people going on these fad diets, and it is actually lifestyle change that you have to do, really. So I've cut that sort of yo-yo diet thing out and sort of went to that whole, well, I've got to appreciate myself before I change my lifestyle, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's educating people how we actually work as a human being.
Yes.
You get a new TV or a new phone, you get a manual or a guide that steps you through it, but we don't get a guide for us.
No.
We all are quite unique. Our genetics are individual, unless you're a twin, of course. And, looking at those individual genetics and seeing where your drivers are. So if somebody is a nervous person, I actually might be able to have to teach them to breathe, slow down, and then think about things. It could be because they could not focus on what they're doing, and their nervous energy makes them fatigued. And all they focus on is actually the fatigue, but not what's actually making them tired.
Yeah, I can sort of resonate with that. And I know a few women who are like me. It's like you go, oh gosh, I'm doing all this stuff. I really need to clear some stuff down. And you clear a few things. You think, oh, I don't want to do that and I don't want to do that. And then you've got this period and you fill it with something else. And it's like, and I see this pattern all the time with me, and it's something that I really need to address. So would that be kind of thing that you would run through with someone like myself?
Yes. So once I've done all the tasks, I would then sort of have an idea of where your body's working, and it's the integrated systems. So, for instance, it might be that you say you want to lose weight, and I do one of my body MOT tests, and I put you on a body stat, which will give me your fat mass, your lean mass, your hydration, and a wellness marker. And if you are not drinking enough water and the body is dehydrated, you cannot actually burn fat.
Right.
So fat and water is like oxygen is to fire. So if you want to put a candle out, put something over the top of it, burn the oxygen up, it won't burn anymore.
Right.
And water's the same for fat. So educating people about we're just one big bag of cells and how each individual cell works is really important. So each cell has three main things in common: cell membrane, nucleus, which is the thinking centre, and the mitochondria, which is the battery. So if one of these three things goes wrong, that cell will go wrong.
Yep.
And then we will replicate in a wrong way. So, sometimes it can be thought patterns that generate those things to go wrong. Other times it's nutrition, times of when we're eating, sleeping. Our sleep patterns, really important. So it's trying to actually assess for you where your loads are coming from. Are you, because you're saying to me that you're very active, you're very thinking active, but do you do the same? Do you give your brain a massage? So you said you went to the beach and gave yourself a mental health day. So how often do you actually put that in? Do you need to put it in more often?
Yes.
Do you need to do something on a daily basis? So sometimes it's just take a book and go for 10 minutes a day, sit in the garden when it's nice, get some vitamin D and read a book. Breathe the fresh air. Look at the nice blue skies that we have in the Wairarapa, and just be present.
Yep.
Because a lot of people aren't present. We've got to be mindful of being in now.
Yeah.
Not worrying about, this is what I did in the past or this is what I'm going to do in the future.
Yes.
No, they never happen.
No.
The only thing we can control is the next 3 seconds.
Yes, that's very true. Now, coming back to you, Fiona. I do a lot of work with businesses that are starting out, and a lot of women will come to me and say, I'm absolutely rubbish at marketing, and they have no confidence in that. Would that be something that your business would? Because women are very
Women suffer from a number of... Women suffer from imposter syndrome.
Yes, very much so.
There's a book out there called Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office, and there's certainly I work a lot with Myers-Briggs profiling, and with Myers-Briggs, it's for those of you that don't know what Myers-Briggs is, it looks at where you get your energy preferences. So, am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? How I take in information? Is it intuitively or is it sensing? How I make decisions? Is it thinking or feeling? And what's my life like? Am I perceiving or judging? So am I organised, or do I dot my I's and cross my T's and have everything? Does my linen cupboard look all colour coordinated and beautiful? And whether a person thinks the only sexual preference in Myers-Briggs is often if you're an F male. So I make my decisions based on my feelings.
Yes.
I can be seen as a little bit feminine, and if I'm a T female, I can be a bit of a ball breaker. Mm-hmm. So Myers is fascinating. I think what we women have to learn is you do not have to be this hard-nosed bloke to compete in a bloke's world. You have to have resilience. One of the greatest strengths that a woman has, and I also have a role 3 days a week. I contract to Master Pet Corporation. I sit on the senior executive level there as the L&D manager and head of HR, and it's a mainly male-dominated area. But you have to be resilient, and women are wonderful at building relationships. They're wonderful at multitasking. They're highly intuitive and perceptive. They'll pick up when something's not quite right, versus a man. A man is almost black and white.
Yes.
Whereas women have that wonderful innate ability to just see things for not what quite they are. I often look at what my staff are not saying to me versus what they are saying. And so when we have people on our program, I had a woman, in fact, a couple of years ago who was working for an organisation. She was a senior role. She was on our leadership training for managers program, and she realised she was doing far too many jobs. She was not really doing her own job, she was doing other people's. She also realised that the culture was not what drove her. It didn't fit her purpose. It wasn't her true north. So she left that organisation, started up her own business, came back and did our Skills for Success program. And she's attributed that to her success of now being in a startup organisation. It's highly successful. She's out there selling herself. So I do encourage, you don't have to lead a large organisation. You don't have to be a person with a large group of people. We're in fact bringing the Skills for Success program to the Wairarapa.
Oh, that's cool.
It's an 8-week program. It's never been in the Wairarapa before. People typically have had to travel to Wellington to do what we call famously the Dale course. But we are in the next couple of months bringing it to the Wairarapa and speaking with Wairarapa businesses now to say, look, this is what's available to you. It focuses on building self-confidence, building your people skills, your communication skills, your leadership skills, and your ability to control stress and worry. And it is 8 weeks because for that very reason is we've got to undo bad habits. I get people to cross their arms, and then when I get them to do it the other way, it doesn't feel comfortable or right, and they just really want to undo it. And that's because they've formed a habit. And we have far too many bad habits in our world that Freddy Krueger sits in our shoulder and chats in our ear. Of the thoughts we have, 80% of our thoughts are negative thoughts. I can't do that. They won't accept me. I'll never be good enough. Oh, that's not going to be, any good. Rather than going, actually, this is what I like about what I did. This is the lesson, but this is where I lost. But whenever you lose, don't lose the lesson. What can I take from that?
Yeah, I saw Mike King speak, and he talked about that inner self quite a lot. That it's very judgmental, that inner self, and you only ever take on board your negative. You have to try and really hard to not take those negative things on board.
Well, on the first night of the program, there's about 24 people in a class, and maybe a trainer or two trainers and team leaders. So there might be as many as 28 people in the class. And so the first thing we teach them on that first night, and often it's a group of people that don't know each other, we're going to teach you how to remember everybody's name. Now, there's 56 names in the room because everyone has a first and surname. So the first goal, I guess, they put down is, how many names do you think you'll remember? And some people, 4. And that's because they came with 3 workmates. And so the first thing they do is go, I'll never remember names. And I tell them, I'm going to guarantee you, every single one of you in this room will remember at least half. So if we've got 56 names to remember, you're going to remember 28. And about 20% of you will remember every single one. So they leave that first night having learned how to remember names and go, wow, straight away, I've done something I didn't think I was capable of.
Yeah.
And we just keep building. Every week it's our job as trainers to give them the confidence that they don't have until they start to realise for themselves what they're capable of.
That's right, yeah. That's really cool. Right, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play some music. Gosh, we've been talking for ages. It's very fascinating. You guys are so fascinating. I'm going to play some music from... I'm going to play a band called Dirty Pixels, who were supposed to be at the Glastonbury Festival, but they were unable to make it. So they actually said they couldn't make it when we picked them. So I'm going to play... They've got this new stuff out. It's called On Ice. And I think they're more of an electronic kind of vibe. So we'll give that a go, shall we? Here it is. It's called On Ice. Well, that was the Dirty Pixels with, I can't remember what the song was now. On Ice, I think. They're a really cool band. We'd love to see them in Wairarapa at some stage in one of the festivals that comes up, either Glastonbury or whatever else comes up soon, and we get them at one of the venues. So you're listening to 92.7 Arrow FM, and this is the Nothing Personal show with Nikki King. And in the studio this morning I've got Fiona Couchman, who is a trainer you own the franchise Dale Carnegie, and Teresa Dixon, and your business name has escaped my brain.
Intrinsic Performance.
I need some training from Fiona on remembering names. I used to be really good at remembering. I was a recruitment consultant for a number of years, and I could remember every single name. But as I've got older and it's become less relevant, it's actually become harder for me to remember the names.
Any muscle, isn't it, Teresa? If you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly. So, but what we've got here in the studio is two guests who are looking at holistically training and leadership and health, which is really fantastic. You guys make a great pair. So, my brain has gone blank. So tell me a little bit more about the services that you offer within your business.
So my ideal client is somebody who actually wants to take the warrant of fitness for their body, so the body MOT. So because that would give me a great starting point to know whether I need to work on their movement, whether I need to work on their hydration, their nutrition. And then I get other clients that just want to come and have some deep tissue work. And I then coach them when they come through. I use essential oils to support wellness and sort of because that's really good for emotional health as well as physically supporting the body, through to Pilates and getting people out walking and just basically trying to get them. They don't have to go to a gym to be healthy.
Yep.
And somebody who is fit and at a gym may not actually pass my test.
No.
Fitness doesn't equal health, and I think in today's society that's really important for the young people.
Yes.
Because a lot of athletes really sit on the borderline of being ill because they push their bodies so hard. So for me it's all about balance. Balancing the emotional needs, your physical needs, and your nutritional needs. How we feed our body is really, really important. And understanding that cellular health, that we just need, all we are is one big bag of cells.
Yep.
And we need nutrients and water and light. We need emotional support from our social interactions and things. So it's a little bit of everything. So when one thing can drop away, that can be the driver to ill health.
Yes.
I think it's quite fascinating. I did a lot of travel many, many years ago, going to Australia a lot as a trainer, and I might just be there for the day. So I'm up at 3 a.m. and I'm getting home at 1 a.m. in the morning. And what I discovered over that time, I put on 4 kilos and I had done nothing.
Sleep.
But, yes.
Lack of
I had
sleep.
done nothing but lose sleep.
And you never gain sleep back.
No, I
Once
believe
it's
that.
Lost, it's lost.
I believe that, yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's just like mad, really.
So you've got people who maybe do night shifts. That's really important for them to understand how their body works. They may need more vitamin C than the normal person.
Yeah.
So I may recommend supplements to some people.
Yeah.
Other people, it's like, look, you're not eating well. Let's start there.
Yes.
And then if the mineral test that I do doesn't increase, we may have to at some point think about having supplements.
So would you see if there's a lot of things wrapped up around bodies resisting certain things, like having allergies and intolerances, would that be something that you'd look at as well?
Yes. So from a lifestyle questionnaire, you can work out. So I would look at digestive health. So, be warned if you come and see me, I'm quite happy to talk about
Poo.
You knew it was coming. And my other half used to think I was absolutely loopy when I'd say, so does your poo float? If it smells horrible, that's a sign of poor digestion. If the frightening thing is if somebody, I sort of said to a group of sports people that I did a talk to, how often should you go to the toilet per week? And I sort of said, right, put your hands up if you think it's 3 times a week. And I went around the room, and one of the lads said 5. And then one of the lads turned around and went, I go 3 times a day. And all of the room went, oh, my God. And I went, actually, he's the healthy one.
Yeah.
And fact is you should have 30 centimetres of poo per day.
Wow.
Whether it comes in 3 lots of 10,
Yes.
it should sort of not be a floaty poo, and it should have solid consistency.
Yeah.
So if it's like rabbit droppings, we have issues with water, and in this day and age, people aren't eating with sort of fast foods and our quick lifestyles. We don't eat enough fibre.
No, that's
Fiber's
right.
key.
Yeah.
And then things start going wrong. You get leaky gut, which is where your intolerances come in.
Yep.
So the body starts going wrong. So yes, sometimes I may have to strip someone down to put them on a hyperallergenic diet for a couple of weeks and then start reintroducing food so they learn. So I'm intolerant to dairy, but I'm also a very nervous person, and I know my nervous system and how my anxiety and brain thinks when can affect that. So if I'm not doing that good self-talk, I'm not doing my proper breathing,
Yes.
My digestion system will get worse.
Yeah. So I find I'm a musician, and if I don't do my allotted weekly dose of music, I have problems. But I suppose that could be the breathing and the singing and
the breathing massages all your organs.
Yes.
So diaphragmatic breathing, and you've also got to you lose yourself in your music.
Exactly.
So it's your mental release.
Exactly.
So it's not just
people laugh when I say it's my antidepressant.
Well, it is. Hugely it is. There's a huge lot of studies that if people could play music, listen to music daily, then two things. Music's quite fascinating. I talk to people about running, now those of you that run or jog. I said, today we run longer, run further and run faster for one reason, and I get them thinking what that one reason is. It's science, we've got new bloods, we've got new drugs or whatever it is. No, we have earphones. 30 years ago we didn't. We now listen to music when we're jogging or walking. We've distracted our brain. We're not listening to the voice going, oh my God, I can't do this, I'm going to die. We're listening to the music. So the music's actually sending messages around the brain, allowing the muscles to perform. And there's a huge amount of endorphins being released when we listen to music. And so the happy juice that comes from us. So the serotonin, all the great things that we need to feel good about ourselves.
Exactly.
So people should listen to music every day.
Exactly.
Play it.
And it's just such a great thing to do. And I'm quite missing it at the moment because we've been looking for a guitarist for a while and none showing up in the universe at the moment. But that's life, So I've started getting my acoustic guitar out and just looking after myself, Bit of self-music love, so to speak. Sounds a bit weird, that, doesn't it? So what would be your ideal customer? Who would show up with you?
Look, we're talking to organisations that they just anyone that wants to build their confidence.
Yes.
Anyone that wants to manage their stress and it's quite fascinating. Some of the key fundamentals, Carnegie, live and day type compartments. So Teresa talks of mindfulness and being present. In 1936, he wrote live and day type compartments. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift, and that's why we call it the present.
Yes.
And what he focused on back then, cooperate with the inevitable. I say whenever you lose, don't lose the lesson. Put a stop loss on your worries. I often say to people, look, if you want to worry, make an appointment, put it in your diary for 2 o'clock till 10 past 2. You will worry, and make sure you're constructive, know what it is you want to worry about, and refuse to do it any further.
Yes.
The challenge is stress doesn't actually kill us, it's the worry. That kills us. Think about when you go away for a holiday, you're under pressure, you get more work done in that build-up to going away than you might, because you've put yourself under a certain amount of stress.
Yep.
It's ongoing stress, and then that turns into worry. That's what really gets us. So anyone that wants to set a clear vision, we have a management program which helps people establish, a business plan, identifies, performance results descriptions for their team, performance management. There's a lot of people out there that don't really know, how do I manage poor performance? How do I deal with poor performance? And also, how do I create a culture where I'm leading and motivating and inspiring. So we use the model of storytelling in our programs, because Martin Luther King stood on the steps, and we all know what he had. He had a dream. He didn't have an 8-point strategic plan.
No.
and people aren't moved by that. They're moved by those stories.
Of course they are.
We will fight them on the beaches. We know who these people are in history. And as leaders, it's what's your story and how are you telling that?
Exactly. I have a lot of that, especially when people come to have websites built, or because I sort of specialise in telling stories with sort of imagery and words, with websites and graphic design, and even with stories in social media. They're very big parts of people buy people. That's the truest ever training message I ever took away from a training course.
And actually, people buy from people they like, trust, and respect.
Exactly.
And I think that's the key is how liked are you, how trusted are you, how respected are you? Because and also how interested are you in them?
Exactly.
It's not about, people aren't interested. There's that old saying, I'm full of quotes, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I often find too many people are focusing on themselves, and it's the opera singer, me. Enough about me, let's talk about you. What do you think of me? They just focus so much on who they are and what they're about that they forget to go, actually, I'm not here for me, I'm here for you.
Exactly. And I think social media has brought a lot of that whole vanity aspect out.
Kardashians have a lot to answer.
They have, yeah. They have. And I think that's really, it's changed the aspect of how people think they should market. There's a lot of amateurs who've not gone through the sales training out there just going, I think I should just talk about me and who I'm with and what I'm doing. And that's not the story.
No, the story is better. Who did I help today?
Exactly.
How did I assist someone today?
Exactly.
How did I make somebody else shine?
Yeah.
And there's, I talk a lot on my leadership programs is, when your people are doing well, you look in the mirror. But that's a poor leader. A poor leader will look in the mirror. When they're doing poorly, a poor leader will point a finger. But when people, I think one of my pertinent stories when I was at Watman Home, the local the local newspaper came to take a photo. I was 8 years old and I was walking home from school, and Pat was running the orphanage, and he said to them, Fiona, come here, these people want to take a photo of you. They wanted to take a photo of Pat, and Pat said, no, I'm not the hero here. It's these children that live here. And I never forget that. Pat, it was more important that we were looked at and admired for the courage and what we were going than he was. And I say that to my leaders. If all you're doing is focusing on how amazing you are, then you're not doing the right thing. It's how amazing your people are. And when things go wrong, it's you. You should be looking at what you've done wrong. And when things go well, you should be showcasing your brilliant people.
Exactly, that's right. And you can't get on in life without those at all. So, Teresa, if say somebody was interested in coming having your body MOT, how would they ring you up and come to you?
Yep, I work from home at the moment. It would be I'd love to open a wellness centre where they could come in, have an MOT, and then each therapist they could go and see.
Yes.
So a lot of the time, therapists think they own the client.
Yeah.
And I'm very aware that that person may need help in a different way. They may need, counselling, or may need something else. So, to share those integrated skills and past clients. So rather than owning the client, just think about how do I get this client well the quickest.
Yeah.
It's how do we help them. So sometimes I've had some of my best clients are the ones I've referred out, but they refer the most clients to me.
Yes, that's right.
And I probably only saw them once.
And I think that's the thing with businesses. It's the businesses that are more successful are the ones that collaborate with other people.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think these days collaboration is key.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one of my hockey coaches in Palmerston North referred a young boy to me, and he'd been to the physio for a long period of time, and I wanted to know what he'd done.
Yeah.
And I actually said, look, you've seen a lot of people. I actually want you to go see a consultant at this point before I start with you. And he did have something sort of clinically wrong with his hip, but the consultant sort of said, look, start your programme with Teresa. It's not going to hurt till we get you to the consultant. But then Mum had confidence, and I can sort of know I'm on the right track, and it was really nice for me knowing that I said X, Y, and Z about his hip, and the mum went in, and that was the issue.
Yeah.
So so it isn't all about me making somebody else better. All I've got is the tools for you to make yourself better. And that's really important.
So would they come, they would just give you a ring and they come to you, and you've got a website?
I've got a website, ipcoach.co.nz.
There you go, you can all go and visit that now.
Yep, or Intrinsic Performance on Facebook. And I've just done one rurally for Tanui, so I'm sort of migrating my stuff because I work 2 days a week in Palmerston. Just rurally migrated myself to it. Stuff working from home in Tanui.
Oh, nice location to go and hang out and be
very
treated.
Beautiful. Yeah, you come to my little oasis.
A bit of a retreat out there.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. And how could just anybody listening into the show, and women in business, whether they're a freelancer or part of a bigger organisation, they could just ring you up? And
Absolutely. Or certainly just head onto the Dale Carnegie website, dalecarnegie.co.nz, key in Wellington. Or certainly I can provide you some details. And my husband and I own the Wellington franchise, and we co-own the South Island franchise.
Oh, nice.
But he is the trainer full-time, and he looks a bit like Kevin Costner, so he's quite an adorable man.
Lucky.
And he is the nicest man on the planet. He's an incredible man, and he has a lot of strengths that I don't have, and I vice versa. We're yin and yang very, very nicely.
Me and my husband are the same.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great partnership. And so Peter...
mine's Peter.
Oh, there you go. Well, actually, this is my second. So we call him Repeater.
Oh, gosh.
So my previous partner was Peter, so this one, he's affectionately known as Repeater. And so Pete is actually with the Wairarapa Chamber of Commerce. He's doing a series of workshops there, so certainly contact the local chamber here as well. I'm on the Women in Business Your Fabulous group, so can get hold of me through that.
Yes.
And we'll be posting some of the programs that we are going to be doing in the Wairarapa. Some people like to go to Wellington, but others, the program is the Skills for Success is 8 weeks long. It's 3.5 hours every week for 8 weeks.
Yes.
And it's an amazing journey. I've personally trained close to 3,000 people on this program, and there's nothing more rewarding than seeing them 10 years, 15 years later saying, look, that program changed my life.
Well, sounds fascinating. I'm getting drawn into it, eh?
It's amazing. They the challenge, of course, they expect me to remember all their names. And
well, you know how to do that, though, don't you?
I forget about 80% of them, but 3,000 people, there's a lot of names to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd love to, and I'll certainly put some information.
Yes, certainly do that, because I know there'll be a number of ladies who are very interested in, because it seems to be when they come to me, because I do the sort of online sales side of things, that there's a lot of people out there who don't feel confident in promoting themselves and their own business.
Absolutely.
And whether that's from an emotional problem that you could perhaps solve for them, or help them look at their whole lifestyle, and then when they move on to, the combination of visiting both of you guys could really change your lady's life.
Yeah, well, having them just have a vision of, what is your purpose in life? And
exactly.
I think for many people, I know my purpose in life is helping people achieve their full potential. And obviously for you, Teresa, it's helping people perform at their, at their best and maximise the body that God gave them and perform it to be able to achieve so much, because that's my mantra. Health is the new wealth.
Exactly.
And I'm an advocate of you. We're having a conversation straight after this.
Exactly. And what I do find as well, I suppose, is that people don't realise how much of their business is actually marketing.
Oh, you are the business.
Exactly.
And you are the business. And if you don't market yourself, from what you say, from your self-talk to your persona, to what value you give, what's my value proposition?
Exactly.
What is my purpose in life? People don't want to know what you do. They want to know why you do it.
Exactly.
And therefore, if you can help tap into the why, it's like, why do I want to be healthy? Once you understand the why, the how and the what becomes that much easier.
Exactly. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to actually ask you a few personal questions now. So not too personal. Don't look terrible, terrified there. So you guys are obviously really busy. What do you do? What do you like to do when you're not working, Teresa?
We keep bees.
Oh, wow. That must be fascinating.
Yeah, so my other half's a beekeeper. So I take photographs of the bees. We love to walk on the beach. So, we haven't turned our TV... I turned the TV on to show somebody a picture on my phone because I couldn't see it very well. We don't... we're outdoors. We garden. We just... listen to music.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's sort of not distracting yourself from the world and actually being present and enjoying the journey, because life's a journey.
Yeah, it is a journey, and you shouldn't really waste any of it.
No, and it's going to have its ups and downs.
Yeah.
And that's just part of life, and it's sometimes failure is failing something. So if somebody fails something, and one of my things, it's like, well, that's okay. As long as we work out what happened and how we can change that, it's just failing. It's not failure.
No, that's right.
But then repeating the same things and expecting a different result is also the first sign of madness.
Exactly.
Failure is temporary, giving up is permanent.
Yes.
Exactly. So what about you, Fiona? What do you like to do in your downtime?
Look, well, I used to say I'd love to come. We had a little holiday home in Martinborough, and so my husband and I, we would come over the hill. We would literally come down the cutting, and that would be our de-stress. And so about 3 or 4 years ago, we bought a little holiday home, but I can't say that anymore because we're now permanently moved to Martinborough. And so I have a musical background like yourself. I did a lot of theatre and shows. I played Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors and
nice.
Frenchie in Greece and Roxy in Chicago. And I was even 6.5 months pregnant when I played Nancy and Oliver. So my daughter has a business called Enchanted Entertainment, so that's a wee plug for her. She plays Ariel and Princess Elsa and has a myriad of characters that she goes and does birthday parties for.
That sounds fantastic.
She's amazing. In fact,
there you are, ladies. You need to book that for your kids. That sounds fantastic.
In fact, if you get on your website and go Enchanted Entertainment at 7:00 at night, she reads a bedtime story to your children.
Oh, how fantastic! What a great idea!
Yeah, and so Serena, her name's Serena Dash, and she came. She followed me on the theatre. I was doing Jesus Christ Superstar when she was about 3 years old, and so she had to follow Mum on traipsing the theatre. I was a professional dressmaker in a past time, so I did a little bit of sewing and music, but I have nodules now, so I struggle with the surgeon tried to get them out, but they turned out to be quite calloused, almost like warts on my throat, and I'll turn into Julie Andrews if he tries to get them out without speech therapy. So we're having a bit of speech therapy, trying to get back into my music, but I love to entertain and I love to have friends, so I'm an active relaxer.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And it's like I can see I've dragged my kids all over the place to at gigs and things, and they come along. And I remember the other day somebody said to Eddie, so it must be really exciting, your mum being in a band. I'm like, it's not cool for them, they're not into it. But your kids will be. But my kids just can't. They've seen the show so many times, they're very bored of it now, so it's like they come along with you. But in some aspects they see the reality of the industry earlier than other kids, so that when they do go into those things and they follow you, they're well prepared for the challenges that come from being an entertainer.
And there are many challenges.
And being a woman in music is particularly daunting. People don't realise that there is quite a lot of misogyny out there in the music industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it can be very challenging, just fighting that sometimes. Yeah, so what do you absolutely love about the Wairarapa, Fiona?
Oh gosh, okay. Look, last weekend I climbed the pinnacles and went straight down them, and then went across to Palliser Lighthouse and climbed the lighthouse. So you'll be very proud of me, Teresa. There was quite a few steps.
There is a lot of steps.
There were 75 floors. My little pedometer, my phone told me I actually literally got to.
Yep.
Look, I love bringing friends over and having them stay. I see more of my friends probably living here, and we'll take them to Poppy's, which we love, Shane and Poppy. And, there's some beautiful OMG Cafe. I love Michael and the team at OMG. We've got some wonderful... It's just the Wairarapa is an hour away, and you can fall into another world. You can walk the countryside, you can get to the beach, you can get to Tory, you can get to Lake Ferry, but you can also get to the beautiful vineyard surroundings. I went to Brodie Estate. Sadly, they closed last week, and just to get time with friends and be present and enjoy a glass of wine and some beautiful food and just fellowship.
Yeah.
I lost a friend of mine passed away this morning, and you've got to remember this. We're not here for as long as we're not here for possibly a long time. We should be here for a good time.
Yeah.
This isn't a dress rehearsal.
No.
And it's a journey. It's not a destination. So make the most of who you are, what you have. Make the most of your friendships, and make the most of the beautiful surroundings that you have here in the Wairarapa. This is just magic on earth. This place.
It is. It's beautiful. And what about you? What do you like about the Wairarapa?
It's blue skies. Coming from the Manawatu, that's where, when we came over from the UK, that's where we lived. And the blue skies are probably bluer here than...
In Manawatu?
Definitely.
Well, I noticed that from England.
Yes.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I got off the plane. We got off the plane the day we arrived. It was the 2nd of June, 2008. Nearly been here 10 years. And we come out of the airport. We've been on a stuffy plane. We walked out. The air was clean. I went, breathed in, real big breath of fresh air, even though we were right by the airport. And the blue sky. I was like, look how blue it is here.
Well, all my friends first laughed at me because I used to wear my sunglasses in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Because it was so bright.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't know. The light in the UK is completely different to here.
Oh, yeah. So,
Yeah.
And I think the Wairarapa has the most amazing sunsets.
It
and
does.
the most amazing cloud formation.
Big sky.
And of course, we've got the stars coming. The big, watching the
Exactly.
stars in the Wairarapa, which is coming through. So
Well, my favourite view is coming when you come over the hill and you're just coming down and you get that point, that corner where it opens up, and sometimes you're in the shade, but you can see the sun right across the plains of the Wairarapa. It's just an amazing view, that, and I always love that when I've been over to Wellington and I'm coming home.
Yes.
And just hit Featherstone and you're back into the Wairarapa. It's just amazing. So now, I bet you ladies have got some great messages here. So what would you say to a woman starting out in business, Teresa?
Be brave.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there. It's not going to be a comfortable place to be, but you don't get anywhere with sitting in a comfortable chair.
No, exactly. That's right. And what about you, Fiona? How would you inspire a woman who's starting out?
Oh, look, I have a little sales quote after the Confucius say, man who covers seat with red does not cover territory. So if you're not outselling, you're being outsold. You've got to get out there. And another great Confucius, man who stand on mountain waiting for roast duck to fly in mouth, wait very long time. You've got to get out there. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to take those steps. So make sure what you are putting out there is something of value to others.
Yes.
Is an attractive proposition in terms of how I might be able to assist and help other people. If you stop thinking insular and start thinking of how you can assist and grow other people, then the rest will come.
Exactly, and I would second that, because that's been my experience when I've empowered women with social media or websites or graphics. It's quite interesting to watch the businesses that flourish, especially when they've been in from the beginning. Well, thank you very much. It's been a very fascinating show this morning, and I'm sure I've made 2 very great contacts that I'll be in touch with in the future. We've had Teresa Dixon and Fiona Couchman in the studio this morning. You've been listening to Nothing Personal with Nikki King, and we're on next week. I've got some Ekatahuna businesses coming down next week, so that'll be exciting. We've got an Ekatahuna special, and you better tune in for that, because they are pretty special. So I'll see you next week, and goodbye.